Away Crow.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone, my name's crow3893. Gonna be running Nicktoons Attack of the Toybots. This is a 3D platformer released in 2007 for the PS2 and Nintendo Wii. The main story involves with Professor Calamitous off to becoming the biggest genius using Krabby Patties, fairies, and ghost energy. Now this makes a little bit of a toll depending on because he's basically like stealing all the stuff, which is kind of like he's just being a meanie head and it's not good for the hero, so that's why we have to stop him. And later on we also have like a B plot, which I will explain a bit more, as it's basically like the way for us to be able to continue on with the rest of the game. But and then I'll just go and get the first level started. Alright, so time doesn't start here. There's going to be a little bit of a gap before time starts because of the auto saving segment, but I'll give a countdown from 5 and we'll start time on go. But in the meantime, we're going to have to wait for this because auto saving is kind of generally a locked thing on the Wii. Alright, here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Alright, so this is the first level, Bikini Bottom. Pretty much in this level, SpongeBob and Patrick were delivering the Krabby Patties that Professor Calamitous ended up stealing. But in this level, Patrick ended up getting kidnapped while they were delivering the Krabby Patties, and SpongeBob is now disguised as a robot in order to save Patrick. And that's basically what's the premise of this entire level. And generally in this level, it's just more of like an introductory of like a tutorial of how to play the game, get used to the movement and everything. But we can just basically skip all of this, and a lot is going to be happening in this run. So right off the bat, you're actually seeing this really long like jumps that I'm doing after every single time I do a roll. And this is pretty much a trick called roll cancel, and it's a very broken trick that's going to be used throughout the entire run. So the way this works is that whenever you actually roll off of anything that's considered a platform in the game, and you let go of the analog stick while you're rolling off of it, you actually going to be able to store your rolling speed into your jumps, as there's no final like horizontal set value. And because of this, you'll end up being able to go like very fast, because rolling is double walking speed in this game, so you'll be able to go twice the amount of distance in the same amount of time and inputs registered. And a little bit of a funny thing to show off in this level is that with this game, you can actually T-pose in this game, and it's pretty hilarious. Ah, dang, okay, I messed it up. I tried going for a throw clip, but I'm gonna try again. So, this is a pretty unknown like mechanic in the game, but you can actually grab certain enemies, and if you can actually like not only jump around with them, but you can also throw them, and that kind of like leads to like a little bit of a funny just like a little like funny gag that you can do in the game where you could just T-pose, and it's pretty hilarious. So at the end of that level, we ended up saving Patrick, but we also met up with two Nicktoons characters, those being Tack and Timmy Turner. And what we're basically going to be doing now is entering into this little factory zone, because Tack mentioned in one of the cutscenes we skipped that there are other heroes nearby. They're just trapped somewhere and we have to look for them. Now, normally in this game casually, you just have to like play the entire level, and then like one of the main premises with this game is that it was very like designed levelly to be as a like a backtrack design area. So every single level in this game is mostly designated as like a backtracking area with a bunch of checkpoints, because you normally don't collect the main things which are required for the B plot of the story, which are called master models, aka action figures of other Nicktoons characters. But we're gonna basically like be able to collect them early, and the first one is gonna be coming up very soon with a cool little glitch that's gonna happen. So right here, I'm gonna be jumping on this little trampoline, and then I'm gonna jump over here, and it's gonna result in me being able to land on a giant invisible platform that's just up here. And what I'm essentially doing is that I'm gonna walk back, be able to avoid hitting in a load zone, which will then cause this section of the level to now load in certain elements. And because of this, I can be able to jump up here into some wind and hit a debug trigger. And oh, okay, I almost got the cutscene skipped. That would have been a cool thing to get. It only saves like a second and a half, but it's still a cool trick. But yeah, that's called Invader Skip. So that master model was normally intended for the level of Gur, and Gur is a character that you don't unlock until like way later into the game, and it's still pretty cool to like be able to do this trick, because this is basically like a master model level that you're not normally supposed to collect like this very early on. So being able to do like not only just the unloading, but also being able to hit the trigger, because normally there's supposed to be a pipe that prevents you from entering it, but you can just enter it in. Alright, and then that's basically the end of that point. So this is now going to be a master model chamber, And this is going to be something you're going to relatively see throughout most of the runs, so you're going to get used to this spot. You're going to get used to this spot throughout most of the speed runs. So basically, this is just more of like a combat section where we have to like eliminate all the enemies in the way. And once we defeat all of them, we can be able to slam on some buttons and unlock a master model of a certain Nicktoons character. As you can see right there, we're going to be able to unlock one of the characters. Her name is Mrs. X or like Tuesday X from the show The X's, which is a little bit of an underrated Nicktoons show that got canceled very early on. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see like all the cool little like references and like all the characters and Nickelodeon shows that were implemented into this game. And that was actually like really cool. So that's the first one down. We only need 9 of all the master models. We only need 9 of them because there are normally 19, but we only need to just get 9 of them to complete the game. So it's not gonna be that much of an issue. So we just make sure to collect the 9 fastest ones. And that's pretty much the whole premise of the game, but it's still also making sure to complete it as fast as possible with other strats. And right here is actually a cool little example of how much the roll cancel saves. So I mentioned how like since like roll cancel is able to let you go like farther distances, this is another prime example because normally you can't like make those gaps with a normal roll and jump, but with roll cancel you can easily do those. And that saves like 15 seconds right there, so it's really cool just to see like how much movement is able to be saved with roll cancel, but also just like other like little strats implemented here and there. And then coming up here is another way to enter into another master model. So this one's supposed to be intended for Jenny, but again, we don't unlock Jenny until very late into the game. But we can just jump on another invisible platform right there and then jump outside. And by double jumping, we were able to hit the debug trigger for her level outside of the pipe, and we're able to just entering this level much earlier than intended. And this is again supposed to be like a one that's supposed to be way later into the story that you can just collect, and it's supposed to be like a quick and easy one for the backtracking. But instead we just collect it very early on. And we're going to be entering again into another master model chamber. So again, yeah, as mentioned, like this is going to definitely be like something we're going to be seeing throughout each of the master models, and for about like 3/5 of the run. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting one to get used to for a bit. It is pretty cool though because it plays heavily like with a reference to Invader Zim itself, which I really like about this about the master model chamber, is just how much they play with the Invader Zim reference, not only just with the visuals, but also with how they also put the Irken Armada logo, as you see right there, as well as another one up here. Alrighty, nice. Alright, that was pretty cool. Now, normally, like, those are, like, only the first 2 master models that we collect in the game. But we're actually not going to be collecting any more of them. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what just happened. My capture card kind of just flickered. But what's basically going to happen from here is we're just going to continue on with the rest of the level normally. We're not going to be collecting any more master models because the other ones that are in this level are a little bit slower than usual. And I should also mention this. So even though we're entering into Factory Zone 1, this is Factory Zone 1 Part 1, which is basically... So like, there are 3 factory zones, Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3, but each of them all have 2 parts. So we're in Factory Zone 1 Part 1, and we're going to be entering into Factory Zone 1 Part 2 to collect a couple other master models, as well as doing some pretty interesting glitches in tech. But while we're getting to the end of it, I'm actually going to do a funny little way to end the level, because even though you're normally supposed to end the level by entering into a pipe, as you'll see right here, but instead you could just do this. You'll just jump on an invisible platform and you can just end the level like that. It's really hilarious. It's definitely like something the community likes to make a joke about here and there, as well as like other like dialogue stuff that is pretty that's like mostly like mentioned in the game. It's pretty hilarious. Alrighty. So right here we're going to be introduced into another Nicktoons character. This is Jimmy Neutron. Now, we haven't actually unlocked Jimmy Neutron. Even though we've saved him, we haven't unlocked him. You don't unlock him until the end, until like, you actually complete this factory, which we're actually going to not do entirely. And how we're going to do this is that we're going to eventually do like a skip like way later into the game than usual. But coming up right now is actually another one, which is a pretty cool trick, and I'm just going to focus on this one. Nice! First try, let's go! Alright, so that is called any character skip. The way this works is, as I mentioned with how momentum storage kind of works with like rolling speed into jumps, anything, like any type of like speed can be stored into jumps, and alongside with rolling speed, every time you go up a master model pipe and that's like not as a required character, there's a little bit of wind that like puts you up, and you'll be able to just like go up pretty quickly if you time your jump correctly. And with this, by being able to do the jump at the correct time and being able to go up very high, you go up slightly past the air, where you'll be slightly airborne, and you can do 2 jumps, and you'll be able to just hit the trigger to enter into the level much earlier. And instead of it being for Patrick, instead we entered it in a SpongeBob, which is really cool to pull off. The trick only saves like 5 seconds, but it's still really sick to pull. Really, like, it's a bit of a tough trick as well. It can definitely be one to like take a bit of time and also like cause some resets. But in the end, it's still really satisfying to pull it off. Then because like it's kind of a nice little like it's a little bit of a cool thing to see like how SpongeBob is being able to do Patrick's mastermind level for him. Like it's a little like nice little friendly thing. Alright, gonna be collecting this master model of Aang from Avatar, and then I'm gonna switch and switch as Tak, because we're gonna be entering into Tak's master model level. Now with this is actually gonna cause us to we're gonna be doing a pretty game-breaking glitch very soon in his level, but in the meantime just gotta make sure to head to it with some just with some platforming and everything that's in the way. In the meantime, I should also mention this. This speedrun has a little bit of a donation incentive where you can actually vote on which character I will play as in the final level. And if you would like to donate for me to play as either of the 4 characters, which are SpongeBob, Danny, Jimmy Neutron, or Timmy Turner, then you can feel free to use !donate in chat, and you'll be able to donate which character I'll be playing as I will be playing as them for the final level until like the very end and be able to complete the game with. But in the meantime, here we are in Tak's Master Model level. So this is Jungle Gymnastics. Whereas, what's basically going to happen here is that we're just doing more platforming. And by this point, I'm actually going to go around this little area as like a bit of a shortcut, I guess you could say. Or I guess a bit of a sequence skip. And from here, I'm just going to continue on with the rest of the level normally because, hey, I mean, that saves time. But not only that, it actually avoids a little bit of... It avoids a trigger that loads in the later part of the level and causes this to just unload. And because it's unloaded, I'm actually able to go out of bounds because there are no kill planes. And this is actually a pretty cool skip that's gonna happen. Also, random circuit. That's a little joke that the community likes to make. I'm actually gonna focus real quick to make sure I don't end up hitting a projectile here. Nice. All right, cool. So what I'm basically doing right now is that I'm actually going out of bounds, and we entered into the level for Tak's level for Factory Zone 1, and I mentioned how there's 3 factory zones, so we're actually going to go out of bounds to go from Tak's Master Model level in Factory Zone 1 to Tak's Master Model level in Factory Zone 3, and that, like, it's pretty, like, surprising that, like, this can actually happen, but at the same time, it's still really cool, just because we're able to skip so much with this, and all this just because of being able to unload the level, and it's actually pretty unique because all of Tak's Master Model levels are just like in the same level-like area, which is what's pretty much happening right here. So like, right now this is actually Factory Zone 3's Tak's Master Model level rather than Factory Zone 1. And something that should also be mentioned is like how much is skipped, but a much more example of how much this actually saves in the run. This saves almost 20 whole minutes and has led to like a category split where we do one category without this trick and one with it, which is the main 90%. And it's still pretty cool just because of how much like this skips. It's still like a really great discovery discovered almost like 4 years ago, which is just amazing. But normally this part of the level is just completed normally because this is just the easiest way for us to be transported to continue the rest of the level, but also like the rest only other way for us to progress into the game for now. I'll go more into the explanation about that once we like at the end of the Master Model Chamber. Nice, I got the cool jump. So that's a little bit of a swag jump, but it's a little bit risky and it's kind of like cycle dependent, but also movement dependent as well. But I was able to pull it off in right there and saved it like a couple seconds and thankfully didn't die from it, which would have costed around 30 seconds. But hey, we did it. I should also mention this as well. Actually, at the end of Bikini Bottom, you saw that I was trying to purchase a costume for SpongeBob, but I didn't actually purchase it. Instead, I just continued the rest of the level. That actually wasn't a little bit of a movement mishap, that was actually to prevent auto-saving, because auto-saving in the Wii version of this game is actually locked, but by being able to disable it that early into the run, saves around 30 to 35 seconds at any percent, depending on how fast you're able to disable it, and making sure that you're able to also, you also just make sure not to accidentally re-enable it, otherwise you'll lose a little bit of extra time. But hey, it's free time save, it's definitely worth it. 30 seconds is 30 seconds, especially for the category this short in the game. Alright, now you can see right here, at the end of the Master Model Chamber, we are now in Factory Zone 3. Not only just Factory Zone 3, but actually Factory Zone 3 Part 2, and like the second half of it, which is very, very late into the game. Which shows just how much we were able to skip with the tack out of bounds, which is still really helpful. But we have to continue for two reasons. The first reason is because we're actually going to be able to collect another Master Model in our way. But another reason is, the main important one, is because we don't have access to the main hub world, which is called the basement. Again, as I mentioned, you don't unlock it, and you normally don't unlock it unless you like complete the rest of the level of Factory Zone 1. But apparently, like, because like the game like does it as like a failsafe where it's just only you're able to unlock it as long as you just complete any of the Factory Zone levels. So that's also one of the reasons why we're continuing on with this, which thankfully is pretty short as well, just because we got teleported in like very close to the end of the level. We just have to make sure that nothing else gets in our way. Such as right here with a UFO, and that's basically like has a giant laser that's going after us. But we just have to make sure like not to die. But in case if I do, then I just get respawned to the beginning of the segment itself, and just making sure not to get hit by the UFO. But so far this is coming along pretty well. Alright, let's see how this goes. Alright, so right there I took an intentional death to make sure I get a perfect cycle of this platform right here. It saves only around like 2 seconds, but it's still a pretty cool one to get. And then right here comes another form of ACS method. And this one basically requires with like the wind. So as you saw, like there was a little bit of wind that was able to push me outside of the pipe, and because of that I was able to jump on the top and outside of the pipe, and did a similar method like I did with Jenny's, where I was able to just jump on the side and able to hit the trigger outside of the pipe itself, which was able to let me enter into Sam's Master Model level. And this is actually one of the shortest levels or one of the shortest Master Model levels in the game. It's not the shortest one, but it's one of the shortest. We will see the shortest one very soon, but right now I'm just going to be continuing with the rest of this, as we're going to be dealing with a bunch of other enemies. Now these ones are actually called Mr. Huggles. They're basically like cute little teddy bears. Well, they're supposed to be like cute teddy bears, but they're actually very evil ones. And there are two different types. Some of them have hammers, and some of them have projectiles that shoot goo at you. And basically, they each deal different amounts of damage in order to be defeated. So the ones that have the hammer require 3 shots, while the ones with projectiles, or the ones that are in the air, require 5 shots. But what's actually kind of funny is that in the Master Model Chambers, there's a little bit of a chance where like the enemies themselves can like randomly like just like jump off and eliminate themselves much more easily, which saves a little bit more time and a little bit more of RNG. At the moment, the Master Model Chambers are kind of just like more speculated to be RNG dependent, but right now we're trying to see if we're going to figure out if there's more of like a consistent way to manipulate each of them to be able to get like faster segments for them every single time, to not worry about too many reset points from them just because of how often the enemies can make or break a run, because you can lose upwards of like 10 seconds from the Master Model Chambers. Alright, so here comes the end of the level, and what we're going to do here is just enter into this little like cannon missile thing, and with this we're going to be able to just defeat these 3 UFOs, as well as one more that's going to be in our way to prevent us to complete the rest of the level. Alright, let's see how this goes. Alright, there we go, one more. There we go, and then there's the main, like, quote-unquote boss, essentially, for this factory. It's nothing major, it's just making sure to just eliminate it like that, and boom. Alright. So we're going to be going back into Factory Zone 1, and from this point, we're going to be entering into a section that was actually skipped, that normally like was happening out after Tax Master Model level. Now, during this point, this is basically like a backtracking point of the run, where we're going to be collecting the remaining Master Models, which are going to be 4 more that we need to collect in order to enter into the second to last level. So right here, I'm going to be entering as Timmy to do his Master Model level. And this one has a pretty cool skip where I'm going to try and see if I can get it first try, but it's another example of being able to like use like other things that are not really registered as platforms to be able to go a little bit higher. So I'm going to try and see if I can do this to do a cool sequence skip. Alright. Nice! First try! Let's go! Alright, so what I did there was actually a trick called box hop. So the way box hop works is that if you actually jump on top of your ally's head, it's registered as a platform, and you'll not only have a little bit of an extended height from it because they're slightly higher up from normal ground for normal ground velocity, but you'll be able to just you'll be able to retain both your jumps, and that's able to put me in enough height to put us on top of that berry canister, which is able to let us skip and do a roll cancel to the end of the master model level itself. And basically that skips like around like 10 to 15 seconds. That it avoids like a little bit of a trampoline segment, which is very risky, a little bit risky depending on the like if you get a good psych or not, as well as like the movement timing. So it just avoids all of it, but the risk is just because you just have to make sure that you're able to like get good like ally RNG, and also making sure that like none of the enemies also attack either of you guys on the floor, just because that could also like affect a little bit of the manipulation. Now, while I was explaining that, I was also entering into a character selection, but also just making sure that like I played as this specific character. So we're entering into Factory Zone 2, and what we're doing right here is that I'm actually switching as Sam, because in order to unlock Sam in this game, you actually need to like, normally you unlock her when you play Amity Park, but what you can actually do is just unlock her in the character select screen, which is what I did when I entered into the character selection screen of Amity Park. But if I didn't actually do that as well, that would also cause the game to crash and also kill the run. But luckily we were able to find a way to just prevent it, which was just this method, and was very like helpful, because for some reason this like it just causes a game crash if you don't enter into the Amity Park rather than if you weren't to enter into like any other section. It's a weird theory that's like maybe like it involves with having to not collect Samantha Manson and Danny Phantom, but also with not being able to also with not completing the first like mech suit level. I'll explain more about mech suit levels towards the end, which is going to be one of the levels we'll be seeing later in the run. But we're just going to be dealing with one more assignment right here. And also, even though I mentioned like Sam already had a master model in Factory Zone 3, she also has one in Factory Zone 2, because some of the other characters have some of them have more than one master model level, which is actually going to be shown here in the run. So as you can see, one right here for Sam's. And then we're also going to see another one. Oh, I golded that segment. That's pretty cool. Alright, so coming up here is going to be the master model of Jimmy Neutron. But as I mentioned earlier, we normally unlock Jimmy Neutron at the end of Factory Zone 1, which we didn't do. So he's not actually unlocked, but we're still going to unlock his master model by going out of bounds. And this is going to be a pretty cool trick, because this is going to involve with playing a SpongeBob, and by going out of bounds and doing a certain timing, we'll be able to enter into his master model level, which is just like on the lower, like at a lower level compared to the actual set positions of the main level itself, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is like go out of bounds and make sure I can hit it, and be able to go to the very end of it and hit the end level trigger. Oh, I accidentally died. Dang it. I didn't mean to do that. That kind of is going to result in another auto-scrolling segment right here. But let's see.
Well, I have a quick donation if you'd like.
Oh, yes, please. That would be very appreciated.
Yeah, we just have $5 from Anonymous with no comment, but we appreciate it all the same. And you too can donate by typing !donate in the chat to find the link and donate to the character bid war at the end of this game. And following that immediately is going to be the Super Monkey Ball, also for a character bid war, but I think that closes a lot sooner in the game. All right, back to you.
Thank you. Let's see. Ah, dang it. It was so close. Alright, let's try again. Let's go! That's a pretty hard trick, actually, but dang, I'm just really happy I was able to pull that off. Yay!
Nice.
Yeah, so that trick, as mentioned, like it skips having to unlock Jimmy Neutron, which normally like the out of bounds method is also a little bit faster. That saves like 8 seconds, but without having to unlock Jimmy himself at the end of Factory Zone 1, that skips having to like complete the level itself, which saves around 35 to 37 seconds. So in reality, doing this entire out of bounds, at least for this category, saves 45 seconds, which is just unbelievable, and it's still pretty cool that like this was able to be able to be discovered. Oh, okay, I was a bit too late. I always try going for like a little corner jump right here, but sometimes it's a little bit inconsistent. But I was able to just back it up. All right, that's the end of that, and now we're going to be entering into the final level to collect the last master model, which is Factory Zone 2 Part 2 of Timmy's. Now, Timmy's is more of like a self-explanatory one, which is more of just make sure to like avoid the falling platforms, and that's basically it. But there's going to be a little bit more of a time until we end up getting into that level itself. So this is another good time for a quick donation or two.
Sure thing. Well, I don't have any more donations at the moment, but just want to remind everyone out there that they are watching the Midwest Speedfest tune-up. And we are an online speedrunning marathon raising money in this particular event to help us buy new equipment. Normally we're out there raising money for charity, but our gear is a lot old and all of it's been donated to us, so we'd like to update all of that, and we can do that with your help. So if you want to continue to watch us in future events and have all of the audio be nice and crisp and clean and all of our video looking good, everyone's out there looking beautiful, you can help us by donating whatever money you feel comfortable with. Looks like you're in the next level, Crow, so I'll hand it back over.
Thank you very much. Yes, so this is the last time we're actually going to be seeing the Master Model Chamber. This one introduces us to some wheelies, which we actually saw earlier in the run, but these ones have two different forms, both a firefighter and a bulldozer model, and both of them behave differently. And oh sweet, another gold, that's epic. Alrighty, now we were able to collect the final Master Model, and now we're going to be entering into Fairy World, because we have now collected 9 required Master Models to be able to just complete the game normally. Now, this level has changed a lot in the speedrun over the years, and this is not really, again, another flashy one, but it revolves around another type of out of bounds. So what's currently happening right now is that we're able to just fall out of bounds right here after doing a roll cancel, and by doing this, we're going to be able to skip to the very end of the level, but it's, again, not really much of a flashy skip, and it's kind of going to be for like another 3 minutes. But in the meantime, I'll just quickly explain about, I just want to give some quick shout outs to some runners. So I actually want to give a shout out to the main glitch hunter of the community, who was able to find many of the strategies in this game for that we still use for almost 4 years later. So shout outs to Schnurt. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Storage and the Only Stick Boy for being my main motivators to give this game speedrun a try. This game, I've had so much fun speedrunning it. I've been a runner of this game now for 5 years. And I'm just so happy that I was able to make so many memories, and also be able to crush the categories and everything, being able to find so many skips and being able to just implement it, because I've really enjoyed the Nicktoons game series growing up. It's been one of my favorite ones playing and then being able to relive those moments again all these years later, just had so much fun. And speedrunning them have been even fun, they've been way better than I thought they were, and it's just been so good. But yeah, other than that, there's really nothing else other than more of so just curious, Maddie, how is the current progress so far for the selection of the final character that's coming up very soon?
Let me give you a refresh here. And currently we have Jimmy Neutron in the lead with $75 and SpongeBob in second with $18. Danny and Timmy Turner are also options, but they don't have any money to them at the moment, and you all out there can change that if you would like to see a different character besides SpongeBob being run.
That is true. Yeah, the funny fact about that, we actually have a category where we only play as SpongeBob, because it's possible to play as SpongeBob and beat the game as SpongeBob entirely. But yeah, just wanted to actually give a heads up about that, because this level is going to end in about another minute, so we have another 30 seconds until we'll be entering into the final level, and the final character will be played. In the meantime, we'll just see some background elements start to load in as we're getting close to the end of the level, and from here it's just more of making sure to be able to just keep a track of where I'm at, because even though I'm out of bounds, I'm using certain visual cues to be able to try and make sure that I'm able to just to maneuver myself to hit the end level trigger, which I'm going to focus right here. Alright, so I did it right there. I used a certain visual cue to move myself upwards, and from here I'll be able to enter into the end level trigger and to just complete the game itself. Well, not the game itself, the level itself, sorry. But yeah, and by this point the donation award is over. So who's the winner, and what will we be playing as?
We will be playing as Jimmy Neutron.
Jimmy Neutron.
Thank you all so much to everyone who's donated to that.
Awesome.
And just
That's
a
actually
quick
gonna be great.
reminder, I'll plug this briefly. Coming up right after this, the next game is going to be Super Monkey Ball Mania, Banana Mania, where we will be doing a character bid war for that as well. So that will be closing at the start of the game. So that's coming up very soon. Currently, Hatsune Miku is in the lead, and nobody else has any money. So if you want to change that, again, donations. There's plenty of options out there. All right, back to the run.
Thank you. So yeah, this is Professor Calamitous' lair. This is the final level. So after we were able to save all the fairies, we are now inside of his lair, and we have to basically get to him, or essentially into the into like the biggest genius game show. And what we're basically doing is just having to go all around his enemies, making sure not to die too many times, but that's making sure like to just not get hit. And this level itself is a little bit different compared to the ones that we've seen earlier throughout this entire run. So as you saw earlier, most of the levels were basically platformers. However, this is more of like a, I guess you can call it more of like a 3D shooter. But it's more of just making sure that you don't just get hit too many times and like also die and lose HP, because there are not many checkpoints in this level, and you can lose upwards of a minute, which is pretty unfortunate. But there is sometimes a random chance where it can also lead to like some soft locks happening, which are a bit random. We've tried finding ways to be able to try and prevent them from happening, but it's still a little bit of an inconsistent one. Now, as well as this, we also selected as Jimmy. Now, I should also say this, Jimmy is also like, as mentioned, like we didn't really unlock Jimmy in this game, but we're still able to play as him, which is still pretty hilarious to think about. But it's kind of funny, but at the same time it's more of a kind of a cool thing. And what's also like kind of a funny thing is that normally in this level, Jimmy actually has dialogue, as you heard earlier right here, like with the subtitles. He's actually the one that's talking. He says that he normally has that dialogue with whoever you play as, and it's kind of funny as well that he also says it whenever like you play as him as well. It's pretty hilarious. And throughout this level, it's basically more of just like a navigation point of where to go to. And during this time, like whenever there's like nothing I need to hit, such as like right here I'm hitting this generator, and that's basically the main premise of what I have to destroy throughout each of the runs, or throughout the entire level itself. But during this point, what I'm actually doing is making sure to also to defeat these specific enemies called the Big Tin Robots, because they actually give out ammo, which is going to be very useful. Okay, this is going to be a bit tough. Alright, there we go, got the range. So, those Big Tin Robots that you see over there, as you can see right there on the right side, that's actually one of the only enemies in this level that give you ammo for your missiles. And missiles in this game are very overpowered compared to normal goo, as you see me shooting right here. So it's very cool to be able to just pull it off right here and just being able to like deal extra damage. But it's also like very helpful as it's able to like break like at either like objects in your way, or just enemies themselves like much more quickly than normal goo. But the goo is still very helpful, just in case if you run out of any missile ammo, you can also just use this as a backup. And it's like the general one, because we're actually making sure to save all of our ammo for the very end of the level, as we're going to be using it to break down a giant wall. Okay, in the meantime, just have to make sure not to get hit. One of the main issues with this level is just that there's so many projectiles because of how many enemies there are, and they shoot like these water balloon type things, as well as like some missiles that also auto target towards you, and they can deal a bunch of damage. Alright, coming up here is a little bit of an RNG segment. Let's see how this goes. Nice! I got perfect RNG. So there are normally supposed to be some robots that spawn in right here, but if you're lucky, you can get either one of them or none of them to spawn in, and luckily none of them spawned in, so that was some very good RNG. I should also mention this as well. So alongside with like how most of this game has out of bounds, this level does actually have an out of bounds, but requires a very tough trick of certain like, it's like a pause strat method where you pretty much time your pausing, and by doing these buffered pauses, you're able to go slightly past a kill plane and go a little bit out of bounds, but you also have to maneuver yourself and make sure that you also go at a precise angle when going out of bounds. And by doing this, you'll be able to skip like most of the section that you saw earlier in this run, or like earlier in this level. And what basically happens is that saves around like 45 seconds, but it's actually the hardest trick in the entire game. And it's, like, with how late it is on the run, it's very risky. Alright. Okay, cool. So I made sure, when I was walking right there, I had to make sure I was more towards the center, because I wanted to make sure like the rest of the level is able to load in right here, because this is a random chance where you can randomly like avoid the level trigger that loads in this part, and that actually loses around like 2 minutes if you avoid it. but luckily there have been many ways to make it more consistent to pick up. Alright, here we go. Gonna destroy this generator, and kind of cool is like being able to see like the different type of like level aesthetics this level has entirely, as well as like seeing like all like the different types of ways like that you're able to like have to move around and stuff. It's pretty cool. And speaking of just like the levels themselves, something I should also mention is also like with the music. And the reason I'm actually mentioning about this is because about the composer of this game, and the composer of this game is actually Mick Gordon, the same person who made the OST for Doom Eternal, and the Doom reboot, as well as the Wolfenstein games. He also made the music for this game back in 2007, which is so crazy to think about. I guess Doomslayer and SpongeBob are canonical in the Mick Gordon universe. Alrighty, but that's it right there. And coming up here is the very end of the level. We're going to be going into one final little auto-scrolling segment, and then we have to deal with breaking down some generators, and then breaking down a wall. But as I mentioned, this wall can sometimes randomly result in a soft block where the barriers will just won't, the barriers would be, like, after you defeat the generator, there's a random chance where the barriers would just, like, go away, but sometimes also come back. And it's just a bit random, really. But we're just have to make sure that it doesn't happen here because it can lose, like, 50 seconds, but I'll be very cautious. Alrighty. Let's see how this goes. I'm gonna jump over here to get a checkpoint. Alright, cool. Alright, moment of truth. Nice, okay, we didn't get soft blocked. Alright, it's gonna destroy these last two barriers and then this last generator. And time is coming up very soon. Alrighty. We are seconds away from calling time. And time!
GG.
Thank you very much. Yep, so that's basically the end of the game, where we just broke down the wall and we entered into, actually... Wait. Hold on, he just said what I just said. What the heck? Wow, I can't believe he just said that. He stole my line. But yeah, that's basically the end of Nicktoons' Attack of the Toybots. We were able to stop Professor Calamitous, and now we just broke inside the biggest genius game show host like studio. Patience, Professor Calamitous. Patience. Oh, I should also mention this. So even though we were collecting the Master Models, that was basically like the side plot of the game, of like the main story of what we needed to collect. That's actually because of this person right here, Chadbot. So Chadbot is quote unquote Professor Calamitous' underappreciated help bot. He makes him do things that he makes him like help him out with stuff that he doesn't like to do, as well as hating his mustache, which is actually pretty relatable. But alongside this, Chadbot ended up becoming the biggest genius and won the biggest genius award because of the same stuff of using Krabby Patties, fairies, ghost energy, and also having the greatest action figure collection in the basically in the entire universe. Also, yeah, shout out to Tim Curry, the voice actor of Professor Calamitous. Alright. Oh, and this actually coming up here is actually one of my favorite dialogues. Fully synthetic, washable, drip dry, glow in dark sash to make you all your friends and combust near an open flame. And everybody, here comes one of the greatest subtitles you'll see in a video game cutscene. Alrighty. Here it goes. Cry of dismay. And he just ended off by being able to shave off Professor Calamitous' mustache. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of Nicktoons Attack of the Toybots. I want to give a huge shout out to the Nicktoons speedrunning community. If you are interested in like running any Nicktoons games, we do have a Discord server for normally the Nicktoons Unite series, so like Nicktoons Unite, Battle for Volcano Island, this game, Globs of Doom, as well as miscellaneous games, their handheld versions, the DS and GBA versions of each game, as well as like other games such as Nickelodeon Kart Racer, and so on. And I also want to mention this, if you are interested in trying out this game, specifically this category as well, any percent, we do have a full any percent tutorial which goes over and be able to help you learn many of the strats that you actually saw in this run. Some of those, of course, like being like some of those were not included, like the Jimmy out of bounds and like a couple of other methods, because those ones are a bit more riskier. But you'll still be able to do a similar route with this speed run, as you'll be able to get like a low time and being able to complete the game in under 15 minutes. And I also just want to give a huge thank you to the Midwest Speedfest crew for accepting this game and letting me be able to run it here at Midwest Speedfest Tune-Up. Very excited that I was able to do it. And also I want to give a shout out right there, as you can see, to Mick Gordon, the composer of the game. Wasn't kidding, but he did compose the music for this game. But other than that, if you are interested in checking out like other Nicktoons content or like speedruns of like childhood games from like the 6th generation consoles, I tend to normally speedrun those, as those are like my bread and butter. But you can find me over at twitch.tv/crow3893. That's also my YouTube, as well as my bluesky at crow3893.bsky.social. But other than that, that's basically going to be it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your time here at Midwest Speedfest Tune-Up. Bye bye!
Thank you so much, Crow. Fantastic run again, and thanks for doing my job for me. Makes the host shift go easy. Fantastic job blurbing and pushing for donations. Love it. To all of you out there, you are watching Midwest Speedfest Tune-Up, and we are raising money for new equipment so that we can put on better events in the future. Our equipment's getting a little old, a little dated, and we'd like to replace it and get some stuff that is a little less jank. We will be live at VGM Con coming up here in just a few months in downtown Minneapolis, or near downtown Minneapolis. But I am done with my host shift. I know it was brief, but again, I had some tech issues, so what can you do? Coming up next, we will be having